Most people think communication is just about words, but the truth is much deeper than that. It's not the speaker's voice, but their frequency. The words that come out of our mouths are just a thin surface of our influence. The rest is the invisible tricks of the mind, the energy underlying behavior, and the vibration emanating from the soul. Have you ever wondered why some people are instantly recognizable when they walk into a room? Why do they gravitate toward those who work harder and are more intelligent in the same room? It's not luck, nor is it intelligence. The reason, the language of energy. When someone speaks, they listen. When they speak, everyone falls silent. And it's not about what they say. It's a signal our brains have recognized for millions of years. Confident power, calm authority, vibrational sensitivity. Communication is not a skill. It's a matter of harmony. Vibrations don't fly around in the quantum world. Every thought, every breath, every posture is a frequency. And our brain deciphers these frequencies in seconds. The fate of the look directed at you from across a room is determined long before we even speak, because the human mind analyzes the person we're talking to in less than 3 seconds. And this decision is as stubborn as time itself. It doesn't change easily. Your physical posture, the rhythm of your breathing, the sparkle in your eyes, all shape your internal reactions to the question, can this person be trusted? This isn't an emotional state. It's a neuroscientific fact. First impressions are our brain's survival mechanism. True communication masters create impact not by speaking, but by managing silence. Silence is like a quantum vacuum, invisible yet decisive. Many people fill this vacuum with fear, by talking too much, by seeking approval, by defending themselves, by constantly reacting. But those who master silence know that energy always flows before words. A pause for breath is more powerful than words, because a silent person is someone who owns their thoughts, and those who own their thoughts own themselves. The power of the psychological frame. The brain operates on frames. It's not the first sentence that sets the tone of a conversation, but the speaker's energy. Reactive communication. Communication that flows according to the direction of others immediately lowers a person's frequency, lowering their status. Leaders don't speak. They shape the field. They direct the energy. They adjust the tone's vibration. They change the frequency of the thought before the mechanical part of the speech. That's why some people think everything they say is being listened to. But the truth is much deeper. The brain has chosen its energy as its guide. Perception, not knowledge. Many people accumulate information while speaking. However, the mind processes information first with emotion, not logic. If the frequency isn't harmonious, even the most truthful sentence can't be heard, because the brain protects itself from excessive information and shuts down. Therefore, persuasion begins not with data, but with the energy source. Words only gain meaning when combined with vibration. Otherwise, the human mind blocks out the noise. Traces of emotion. A person's inner state always leaks out. In psychology, this is called emotional leakage. In spiritual language, it's the energy vibration behind the scenes. Tension permeates the tone of voice. Anxiety permeates the rhythm of breathing. And uncertainty permeates the choice of words. And even if you don't realize it, the other person senses it immediately. Because the brain processes emotions first, not words. Therefore, true self-confidence begins not with action, but with organizing one's inner world. Those who can't manage themselves can't manage communication either. Traps of thought, mirroring people's style, tone, and energy. At first glance, it seems like fit, but in the long run, it makes you invisible. Because in the quantum realm, those who lose their own frequency begin to live in the shadow of other frequencies. True authority does not arise from harmony. True authority arises from their own frequency, from their own tone, their own rhythm, their own time. The energy of approval seeking. The desire for approval is the force that most rapidly lowers vibration. When a person speaks to please, their energy is divided. The brain perceives this division and withdraws their self-confidence. The approval-seeking speaker is actually sending the message, "I'm not confident in my true self." And this vibration undermines every word. Chapter 2. The Quantum Mechanics of Self-Confidence. The mind is an invisible laboratory that records every experience you have. When you face a challenge, solve it, or master a difficult conversation, your brain leaves a little note deep within. You've done it before. You can do it again. Self-confidence is built this way, silently and gradually. Unfortunately, most people never look into this laboratory. They magnify their failures and minimize their successes. They act as if all those successes hidden on the shelves of their minds are invisible. But self-confidence begins when you choose to recognize your own successes. Because when you accumulate evidence, you become stronger. Just as energy transforms into light when concentrated, success, when recognized, transforms into self-confidence. The way to accelerate this process is not to overexert yourself, but to add challenges in moderation. A single step outside your comfort zone, a giant leap. This step becomes new data for your brain. And each piece of data is like a silent companion standing by you through all future challenges. This is where another fundamental truth comes into play. Inner dialogue. The words a person whispers to themselves are the most powerful frequencies. The brain interprets everything repeated to them as truth. That's why most people weaken their own power with this inner dialogue. It's not you. You made a mistake again. You're scared. But true self-confidence comes not from overly positive thinking, but from cultivating a realistic and compassionate inner voice. It's like talking to a valued colleague, objective, supportive, but honest. You don't have to be perfect. This challenge is here to teach you something. Keep going. That's enough. Such statements realign the mind's energy. Thoughts at altered frequencies are reflected in behavior, and behavior generates new evidence. Then the body comes into play. Because the body is the hologram, the mind projects outward. Your posture, your breathing, your gaze, all carry a vibration emanating from your inner world. When you stand upright, breathe with control, and move consciously, you send a message not only to others, but also to yourself. I am ready. When breathing becomes shallow, the system descends into chaos. When breathing becomes deep, the mind becomes clear. The body's balance alters the mind's chemistry. But these are not the only things that make self-confidence last. The real breaking point is living in harmony with your identity. When you try to meet others' expectations, no matter how brilliant your role, you will always feel a lack within. Because pleasing others disrupts the frequency of your soul. True self-confidence arises from living in harmony with your own values. from being at peace with what you are and what you are not, from not feeling the need to hide or prove yourself. This kind of self-confidence doesn't require external validation because the source is within. At some point, this process reaches a point where situations that once seemed daunting become commonplace. Challenges become opportunities for growth, not threats. And the mind knows, wherever I am, I can overcome it. The greatest strength of this self-confidence algorithm is that it's based not on superficial motivations, but on real capacity, knowledge, experience, evidence, and identity. That's why it's resilient. That's why it works even under pressure. Now that we've established the deep structure of self-confidence, we can move on to the next level. Influencing people without pressure or manipulation, simply by using the natural flow of psychology. Influencing isn't about overwhelming someone. It's about unconsciously opening doors in their minds. It's not about imposing an idea on someone. It's about helping them arrive at that idea on their own. Therefore, the most powerful influence techniques are those that align with a person's natural way of thinking. The first technique is reframing assumptions. People often unconsciously think, it has to be this way. But these limitations aren't real. They're just habits. But what if? It doesn't have to be this way. What if? Budget isn't an obstacle. What if? Starting from scratch is a better option. These questions open a new door for the mind. Challenging existing limitations expands quantum potential. The second technique is the correct use of social proof. In times of uncertainty, people look to their surroundings. The decisions made by others serve as a kind of compass. However, for this compass to work, the examples must be chosen correctly. Examples that the person respects and feels close to. This translates not into persuasion, but into a sense that there are others on the same path. Chapter 3: The Intelligence of Silence and the Quantum of Social Harmony. You don't need to fill everything with words. Sometimes the greatest value you bring to a conversation isn't talking. It's being present, listening, and remaining silent at the right moment. Strategic silence requires not only maturity, but also a price, because to remain silent, you must first manage your own inner noise. When you're anxious, words flow uncontrollably. But when your mind is focused, you see silence not as a threat, but as a transitional energy field. This field opens an invisible door that allows people to express themselves more deeply. Because silence is powerful, because it's rare. In a world dominated by noise, those who master silence shine as thoughtful and trustworthy communicators. People value them not just for what they say, but also for how they hear and are heard. The art of reading. Social codes. The most sophisticated communicators are those who can read the frequency of their environment. They know with intuitive accuracy what to say, when to remain silent, and what tone to use. This isn't magic, it's a learnable skill. Social cohesion. Social cohesion is deciphering the invisible codes of an environment. It's reading the power relations, the emotional atmosphere, the cultural norms, and the unwritten rules. Every environment operates at its own pace. Some are fast-paced and oppressive, while others are soft and relational. Those who fail to read these dynamics use the same communication style everywhere, leading to conflict, resistance, and misunderstandings. Above all, situational awareness is essential. What is the hierarchy of this environment? What is the mood of people? What behaviors are acceptable and which are not? Who is being listened to? Who is being ignored? Where is the energy flowing? When you are aware of these questions, you can ground your communication style on the right foundation. Reading the target. Not everyone responds to the same communication style. Some prefer logic, others emotion. Some focus on details, others the big picture. Some seek trust, while others prefer bold suggestions. True rapport requires perceiving the internal rhythm of the other person. Signals of this are everywhere. Their profession, the questions they ask, their facial expressions, their risk tolerance, their focus. When you understand the person, your communication goes beyond mere talk. It becomes synchronization. Sensing power dynamics. There are two types of power in every environment: formal power, title, position, authority. Informal power, charisma, experience, and network. Approaching the wrong person with the wrong tone can unknowingly create resistance. Therefore, it's important to approach powerful people with openness and discipline, and those with relational power with cooperation and patience. Cultural and emotional intelligence. Every group has its own unique culture. Some prefer quick decisions, while others prefer to adapt and take risks. The wrong cultural signal weakens your communication. You also need to understand the flow of emotions. A relaxed tone can be irritating in a stressful environment. Being playful in a formal setting may seem pointless, but being completely fake also feels fake. True mastery lies in finding balance, being yourself, yet staying in tune. Real time. Rapport. Social rapport isn't a one-time read. It's about monitoring microsignals that change every second. Are people leaning forward or backing away? Is there eye contact? Do they sense confusion or acceptance? The ability to recognize when your approach isn't working and fine-tune your tone, pace, or content. That's true social intelligence. Those who possess this ability become trusted by everyone in meetings, negotiations, and critical conversations. The quantum of unwavering confidence. Self-confidence isn't innate. It's a built-in algorithm. Most people associate self-confidence with results, but this is an overlooked truth. Self-confidence breeds success. Not success breeds self-confidence. Unwavering self-confidence depends on your own process management, not external circumstances. The foundations are: 1. Competence. Confidence built without true skill won't last. 2. Preparation. Mental and emotional rehearsal that allows you to say, "I can handle this," even in difficult situations. 3. Gathering evidence. Every small success fills your inner confidence tank. Through this triad, a person maintains inner strength even in times of uncertainty. Chapter 4. The Deep Codes of the Mind. What really moves people? The power that drives a person often lies not in the words we speak, but in the deeper needs that spark invisibly within us. Security, success, recognition, independence, connection, the desire for growth, or a sense of contribution. Every person is driven by their own inner engine in this universe. Persuasion begins with understanding exactly how this engine works. Before trying to persuade someone, you shouldn't think about what you need to persuade them with. You must understand what they truly want. Sometimes words speak for themselves. Sometimes a glance you catch quietly. Sometimes the anxieties they unconsciously express. What topics excite them? What questions keep them up at night? What accomplishments are they most proud of? What fears and possibilities do they avoid? These questions provide the coordinates of the person you're talking to. Explaining something without these coordinates is like trying to find your way in the dark. But when you see this internal map, aligning what you want to say with their values becomes much easier. And then the second principle emerges: rapport and trust. A person is only susceptible to the influence of someone they trust. This relationship can't be built through superficial techniques. It has nothing to do with overusing someone's name, mimicking their body language, or feigning sincerity. True rapport begins with a genuine curiosity. Can I really help this person? This sincerity emerges when you shift your focus from your own interests to the other person's needs. When people feel you value them, doors naturally open, because the other person isn't just listening to an offer, they feel understood. The third principle is the power of story. Facts tell, but stories touch. The human mind is driven by emotion, not knowledge. Therefore, simply listing dry data doesn't leave a mark on memory. But when you transform that data into a story, when it becomes a tangible image, when it conveys emotion and meaning, that's when the real impact begins. A good story takes the listener on an inner journey. It involves familiar challenges. It has clear cause and effect relationships. And finally, there's a solution that connects to what the listener wants to achieve. The story makes your proposal seem like a natural consequence. Therefore, strong persuasion is often a story experience, not a transmission of information. Then comes the fourth principle. Don't ignore resistance. Everyone has a thought. It doesn't make sense. Ignoring this point leads you to distance yourself from the other person, rather than pushing them away. Skilled communicators view objections not as an enemy, but as a compass, a signal showing what's missing in the other person's world. The real solution isn't to suppress objections. It's important to understand them, acknowledge them, and reframe your proposal if necessary. Because sometimes the right answer is, I see this isn't for you right now. Even this statement generates confidence far greater than its impact. The fifth principle is to create urgency without pressure. People tend to postpone decisions when they can't find a reason. This is a natural mental defense. But explaining in a natural way that time offers limited opportunities and that delay can come at a cost. That's true urgency. Without creating false scarcity, without pretense, simply by telling the truth. And the point isn't to pressure the other person. It's to protect them from future regrets. The sixth principle is to make it easy to say yes. Even the brightest idea will be rejected if it seems complex. The human mind doesn't like uncertainty. Therefore, breaking big decisions into smaller steps, reducing risks, and simplifying processes motivates people. Because while big steps can be daunting, small steps are manageable. The seventh and final principle is to affirm commitment. Many communication attempts end in uncertainty, despite being told, okay, because no one clarifies what the steps are. Yet, a little clarity creates significant momentum. So, what do we do now? This question both builds trust and transforms decision-making into action. And the great truth underlying all these principles is this: persuasion is not manipulation. Persuasion is about helping people see what is in their best interest. It's about facilitating the right decision. And it's about creating a win-win situation for both parties. That's why persuasion is not a technique, but an art of the mind. Chapter 5. The Quantum of Voice: How Frequency Creates Status. The moment you speak, you don't just say words. You emit a frequency, a vibration, an energy signature. And people read this signature without you even realizing it. Your voice is like a quantum imprint of your mood, your confidence, and even your past experiences. In the first second, the person you're speaking to unconsciously collects hundreds of micro data about you. Therefore, competence, authority, and credibility often come not from what you say, but from how you sound. A confident voice is always nourished by breath. It carries a deep, steady, and calm force, like the expanding rhythm of the universe. Your rate of speech isn't rushed, it's purposeful. Your pronunciation isn't domineering, it's directive. And this frequency instills in those around you the feeling, this person is in control of themselves, so I can trust their decisions. But many people unknowingly self-sabotage. They speak too fast because their minds are under the pressure of the future. They speak too quietly because their inner vibrations are filled with uncertainty. They end their sentences with question marks because they can't defend their own truths. Like a low-frequency signal, these vocal patterns lower status, diminish respect, and undermine trust. Powerful openings, sending the first wave of energy into the quantum field. The first sentence you say opens a door, and the energy that enters that door determines the fate of the entire conversation. Weak openings send the following message to the subconscious mind: my time isn't valuable. It might be a mistake for me to be here. Maybe I shouldn't have spoken. But powerful openings carry clarity, give direction, embrace the energy, a scientific insight, a shocking observation, or a mind-altering question. Capture everyone's attention instantly. Take the lead in the first second. Emotional attunement, when words, voice, and body become a single frequency. The foundation of true authority is emotional attunement. If your mind says one thing and your voice implies another, your body tells a completely different story. The other person senses this immediately. Because the human brain has a millions-year-old survival program built on inconsistency. True self-confidence is not a technique. It's the attunement of your inner vibration to your outer vibration. When this attunement occurs, people don't just listen to you. They connect to your energy. True authority, silent power, calm frequency. Authority is not noise. It's not tyranny. It's not grand words. Authority is like the dark matter of the universe, invisible, yet it shapes everything. True authority arises from stillness. Aggression is temporary. Respect is permanent. Aggression is a reaction. Authority is a choice. The first pillar of authority is emotional regulation. The ability to remain centered even under pressure. The ability to control one's breath even when a storm is brewing. This conveys the following message to others: I am in control of my inner universe. The second pillar is intellectual self-confidence. It carries true knowledge, true thought, and true inquiry. It defends what it knows and admits what it doesn't, because wisdom requires awareness, not ego. The third fundamental principle is purposeful communication. There's no such thing as talking for the sake of talking. Every word has a function. Every sentence provides direction. Your words draw a line in the other person's thinking. The fourth fundamental principle is setting boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, but fields of vibration. The clearer you are, the healthier your relationships will be. And maintaining boundaries requires determination, not anger. The fifth fundamental principle is competence, the ability to draw conclusions. Be honest with your words. Speak from your own mind. This is the quietest yet most powerful sign of authority. The sixth element is strategic vulnerability. This is not weakness, it is the warm frequency of humanity. Saying, "I may make mistakes, but I can learn," adds value to every stance. The seventh element is social balance, the ability to understand the invisible rules of any environment and adapt without losing control. This is the highest form of social intelligence. The last wave, persuasion, is not manipulation. Manipulation captures the subconscious. Persuasion expands the conscious mind. Manipulation weakens. Persuasion kills. People first make decisions with emotion, then embellish them with logic. Therefore, true persuasion comes from understanding the other person's mental universe, their values, fears, desires, needs, and then helping them see their own path. It's a quantum interaction. Two minds, two fields, two frequencies meet, and the result moves them both toward a better version of themselves. Chapter 6. The Invisible Sphere of Influence, Your Quiet Power Over People. People speak with what they don't say. Therefore, true impact comes from a place much deeper than words. Your consistency, your presence, the emotion you convey. The impact you leave on someone's mind is shaped by subtle signals, often ones you're not even aware of. And here's the secret. Consistency is the human mind's most powerful principle of trust. If someone sees you repeatedly and doesn't notice any gaps in your behavior, if there are no cracks between your values and your words, you suddenly become an invisible authority. This isn't becoming robotic. On the contrary, it's a sharpening of one's inner compass. Because a mind exhausted by uncertainty respects consistency. But influence doesn't begin simply with being consistent with yourself. Influence flows through relationships. Who influences whom in life? Which invisible connections influence which decisions? Who can silently open a door? Seeing these things is like reading a social quantum map. This map teaches you this. True power lies in building genuine connections with the right people. Because a relationship isn't built between two bodies, but between two energy fields. And as this connection grows stronger, an invisible network of influence forms that speaks for you. First, you ignite your inner light, but it's your relationships that make that light reach farther. Then comes expertise. What aspect of you do you want the world to remember? In the information age, saying "I know" isn't enough. You need to make what you know visible systematically, consistently, and clearly. Expertise isn't about climbing a mountaintop. It's about pointing to other mountains from that peak, offering a perspective, clarifying an idea, illuminating a darkness. When people apply a sentence from your mind to their own lives, that's when thought leadership begins. But growth doesn't end there. Because a person's lasting impact isn't just on the people they develop, but also on the people they develop. Mentoring isn't just about imparting knowledge. It's about taking a spark from your own mind and planting it in their future. When someone achieves success using a method you taught, your impact is no longer merely personal. It's sustainable, just like a fire ignites another fire. And finally, the ultimate impact is achieved: legacy. It's not about influencing a single person, a single moment, a single decision. It's about changing the way a group, a team, or even an institution thinks. A person may disappear, but the methods, approaches, and perspectives they leave behind live on. When an idea becomes enduring, its impact lasts long after the person is gone. This is where another door opens: charisma. Most of us think of it as an innate talent, but charisma is a learned management of energy. It consists of three things one person gives to another: intense presence, emotional rapport, genuine curiosity. When you give someone your undivided attention, the jaded mind of the modern world becomes muddled. Because most people think about something else even when they're speaking. But if you're simply present, simply open to that person, time slows down. The weight of your attention touches a person's heart. Emotional attunement, on the other hand, is reading the vibration beneath the words. The tremor in someone's voice, the tension in their body, the hidden excitement. Charismatic people don't manipulate emotions. They understand and regulate them, just as a musician creates sound through vibration. And curiosity. The depth of the questions you ask determines the depth of your relationships. When your curiosity is genuine, the other person is transformed even as they express themselves. When all of this comes together, the result is much more than simple communication skills. It's about managing your energy field, making people feel valued, and leaving a lasting legacy even in your absence. A person's true power lies not in their voice, but in the vibration they leave in the minds they touch. Chapter 7: The Secret Codes of Charisma. The art of managing energy, storytelling, and difficult conversations. 1. Energy management. The power that quietly changes the environment. One of the most distinctive characteristics of charismatic people is their conscious management of their energy. When they enter a setting, people not only see them, they feel their energy. Because charismatic people know that energy is contagious. Sometimes the environment demands calm, sometimes confidence in a crisis, sometimes enthusiasm for a project, sometimes focused intensity in a serious discussion. A charismatic person senses the energy needed and adapts accordingly. You may be tired, stressed, and demoralized, but you don't let your energy negatively affect others. This is because people tend to emulate the energy of those they respect. Therefore, when you consistently radiate the right energy, people feel better around you and are naturally more drawn to you. 2. The power of storytelling, making the ordinary unforgettable. Charismatic people don't necessarily have to be good speakers, but nearly all of them share one trait. They can transform even an ordinary event into a meaningful, inspiring, and relatable story. Effective stories. They create vivid mental images. They establish an emotional connection. They teach a lesson when appropriate. They invite the listener to connect with them. Storytelling doesn't require significant life experiences. The key is to find the human element and convey it in a way that everyone can see. 3. Vulnerability, calibration, being open, but not too open. Another secret of charismatic people is their ability to be just the right amount of vulnerable. That is, being open enough to connect without being overly personal or making others uncomfortable. This is strategic vulnerability, sharing a professional mistake, a skill you're trying to learn, a struggle you've overcome. These things build connection. However, emotional longing, excessive detail, or trying to get attention can have the opposite effect. True vulnerability says, I'm strong, but I'm also human. And people connect more easily with such individuals. Positive assumption. 4. Seeing the best in people. Charismatic people automatically interpret others' intentions positively. This isn't naivety. It's about building psychological safety. Because when people sense what's expected of them, they strive to meet that expectation. Positive assumption. Explaining ambiguous behavior with good intentions. Focusing on people's potential. Ignoring red flags and approaching the starting point with confidence. This approach allows others to feel more creative, spontaneous, and free. This is why there's a relaxed atmosphere around charismatic people. 5. The art of appreciation, making others shine. Charismatic people genuinely celebrate the achievements of others. However, this appreciation isn't superficial, isn't selfish, isn't limited to simply saying, "Good job." Instead, it's specific and sincere. It clearly explains what's valuable and why. This makes the other party feel really seen. And interestingly, praising someone else doesn't diminish your own charisma. On the contrary, it enhances it. Difficult conversations. Managing conflict without losing respect. 6. The true nature of difficult conversations. Most people avoid difficult conversations, and this avoidance only exacerbates problems. Difficult conversations don't have to be destructive. If managed well, they become an opportunity to strengthen relationships. The key: see your opponent not as someone to be defeated, but as a partner to be reached for a solution. 7. First step: preparation and emotion management. Before entering into a discussion, what do you want? What is your goal? What outcome do you expect from this conversation? You must know these. Otherwise, emotions will take over the conversation, and productivity will decrease. Consciously controlling emotions, not suppressing them, is crucial. 8. Respectful opening. The moment that shapes the conversation. The first sentence of a discussion determines its outcome. Aggressive, accusatory introduction. Defensiveness, struggle. Calm and collaborative introduction. Solution, progress. For example, I want to talk so we can resolve this together. This approach diffuses conflict and leads both parties to the same conclusion. 9. The distinction between fact and interpretation. Most conflicts arise because people present their interpretations as facts. Fact: something that can be measured and accepted by everyone. Interpretation: your evaluation. If this distinction is not made, conflict is inevitable. Presenting facts diffuses debate. Chapter 8. The quiet power of the mind in crisis. A crisis is the greatest test of the human mind, because no storm is as loud as the storm within. From the outside, everyone feels the same pressure, yet some collapse while others thrive. This difference lies in the invisible yet deepest layers of communication: internal order, transparency, a solution-focused approach, and understanding the rhythms of human psychology. When a crisis begins, the first thing to do is not to rush outward, but to turn inward. Because unless one can manage one's own emotions, one cannot manage anything. Emotional regulation is not hiding anger or fear. It is hearing its echo within us, and then remaining centered with a conscious breath. When the mind panics, the world shrinks. When the breath calms, time expands. A leader is someone who can make decisions in this expanding time. As the crisis grows, so does the thirst for knowledge. People create their own scenarios in the unknown, and many begin with disaster. This is where the second principle comes into play: transparency. Sharing the process step by step without hiding what you don't know or exaggerating what you do know. Because transparent communication is the most powerful way to reduce panic. When people feel the truth flowing like water, trust is rebuilt. But a crisis isn't just about explaining what went wrong. Understanding the problem requires focusing on solutions. The question, "What can we do now?" is the key to unlocking all the blockages. Good communication isn't about rejecting pessimism. It's about making us aware of the small lights guiding us in the darkness. Because a mindset focused on solutions can change direction, even if it can't change the circumstances. In every crisis, different people have different needs. Internal teams need swift action. Managers need strategy. Customers need trust. External partners need clarity. Therefore, the third principle is personalized messaging. No message is right for everyone. Just as the same melody sounds different on every instrument, communication must adapt to the recipient. As the crisis unfolds, the most critical point emerges: the moment of decision. Even if there is incomplete information, it is essential to act without delay. Indecision is an invisible poison that magnifies crises. True leadership, instead of expecting perfection, is taking the most appropriate action with the available data. This balance between speed and meticulousness makes a leader both courageous and trustworthy. Crisis communication isn't just about saving the day. It shapes long-term reputations. People may forget the problem, but they never forget how you acted under pressure. Therefore, communication is the brightest mirror where character becomes visible. Those who keep their word, take responsibility without exaggeration, and don't promise what they can't deliver, build trust. And most importantly, crisis isn't a test that weakens relationships. When managed correctly, it strengthens them. Because sincerity seen in difficult times creates bonds that wouldn't be formed for years in normal times. People feel loyalty to those who guide them in the dark. Communication isn't strengthened by chance, but by a system. Every interaction is a brick engraved in their reputation. Therefore, lasting impact comes from those who maintain the same demeanor and composure in every environment. When message consistency, emotional attunement, clarity, and a solution-oriented approach come together, communication is no longer just a skill. It becomes a signature of character. Crisis is a time everyone fears, but for masters, it's an invisible opportunity. Because while some people are weakened by adversity, others are shaped. And in the end, this truth remains. Crisis reveals not who a person is, but who they think they are. A true leader is one who rebuilds themselves in the moment. We live in a world that never stops. Everyone is shouting. Everyone is trying to be seen. Social media is constantly demanding attention. Amidst this noise, a quiet revolution is unfolding, unnoticed but growing every day. While the loudest voices dominate the headlines, true power often lurks in the background. Because some people have rediscovered a truth known to the ancient masters: the extraordinary power of quiet work. Think about it. Who built the largest empires? Who made the most revolutionary inventions? Who amassed the greatest fortunes? Was it the loudest person in the room? Or was it someone who quietly observed, planned, and executed flawlessly? History tells us a very different story than the one told by popular culture. Today, we will explore it together. Who is on time's side? The strategic power of silence. This narrative isn't about being antisocial or avoiding people. It's about understanding the tremendous advantage of silence, observation, reflection, and acting without speaking. And eventually, you'll realize this. History's most successful people are often the quietest people in the room. When you learn how to harness their power, you'll understand more clearly why our world belongs to those who command silence, not those who get lost in the noise. 1. The loud leader fallacy. For years, we've been told a big lie. To be successful, you have to be the loudest person in the room. Corporate culture has glorified extroversion, constant talking, and the need to attract attention. But what if all of this is wrong? Many of history's most effective leaders were introverts who appreciated the value of silence. Warren Buffett's power lies not in influencing crowds, but in his insightful analysis. Bill Gates built a tech empire not through charisma, but through the power of quiet concentration. Quiet people produce results. Loud people, on the other hand, often just attract attention. 2. Silent actions that get results. In any organization, the real power holders are often not the ones who talk the most. They are the ones who make the biggest difference. A quiet programmer can earn millions of dollars with a single line of code. A quiet scientist can change the world with years of hard work, and none of them do it to brag. They know. True innovation is born in silence. Noise brings visibility. Silence creates value. 3. The psychological power of silence. Quiet people aren't just people of few words. They possess powerful psychological mechanisms. Observation skills. When they're not talking, they listen. When they listen, they gather information. When they gather information, they develop strategies. This gives them situational awareness. While others focus on their own words, quiet people see the real picture. Mystery and the scarcity effect. People who talk constantly become background noise over time. But when a quiet person speaks, everyone stops and listens. Speaking less gives weight to every word. This is an advantage because less is valuable. Higher perception of competence. Research shows that people who talk less are perceived as more competent. This is because silence provides time for reflection, self-confidence, and analysis. Silence equals depth, plus self-confidence, plus control. Internal focus. Quiet people have less need for external validation. They draw their strength from within. This makes them more resilient under pressure and more independent in their decisions. Emotional control. Quiet people observe their emotions rather than act them out. This allows them to act more balanced and strategically under pressure. This is a true leadership strength, because people trust leaders who don't succumb to their emotions. 4. Respect through silence. Getting recognized is easy, but earning respect is the result of quiet work and consistent performance. Noise is temporary, but the essence, the value of your work, is enduring. This is where the power of quiet work comes in. It doesn't make you visible or get applause, but it makes you indispensable. And that's the deepest kind of success. Conclusion. Why quiet people win? Because quiet people, they don't chatter, they observe. They act thoughtfully, not reactively. They don't seek approval. They act from their inner strength. Focus on results, not noise. Choose effectiveness over being heard. In today's noisy world, silence is no longer a weakness. It's the greatest competitive advantage. When you work quietly, your voice is quieter, but your power reaches farther. The hidden cognitive power of silence. Quiet people respond thoughtfully rather than react quickly. This seemingly simple trait actually creates a cognitive advantage. This is because the brain has a limited processing capacity. Constantly talking, explaining, and trying to express oneself drains mental energy, while quiet people conserve it. This gives them clearer thinking, better decision-making, and greater mental stamina. In psychology, this is called cognitive load management. Quiet individuals automatically lighten this load. This improves their performance, especially in the long run. When they don't have to speak, they save their true strength for strategic moments. And most importantly, silence is not a weakness. It is often a source of strength. 2. The hidden advantage of underestimation. One of the greatest weapons of quiet people is that they are often underestimated. In the outside world, noise is mistaken for visibility, and visibility for value. Therefore, quiet people are not often perceived as a threat, someone being watched, or someone under pressure. This creates a much greater strategic advantage than you might think. Being underestimated means less pressure, less scrutiny, less competition. This provides freedom of action. Quieter people develop, deepen their skills, take risks, experiment, and grow without the obstacles faced by more visible people. This is especially evident in the workplace. Someone who loudly praises themselves attracts attention. But this attention also leads to scrutiny. Every mistake is magnified. Every flaw is noticed. Everyone is watching. A quiet person, on the other hand, remains inconspicuous. They have more freedom and are not under pressure. Therefore, quiet individuals produce better results in the long run. 3. The psychology of exceeding expectations. The human mind judges success not by absolute results, but by expectations. We expect a lot from someone, and just because they achieve good results doesn't affect us. But when someone with low expectations performs exceptionally, it makes us feel much more empowered. This is where quiet people win. When a quiet person performs exceptionally well, it's not just a success. It leaves a legendary impression. There's a surprise effect for the other party. This advantage is particularly effective in negotiations, internal promotions, competition, and strategic moves. The other party assumes you're unprepared, weak, or inexperienced. This provides you with unique opportunities for information gathering, analysis, and planning. Asymmetrical power is exactly that. The person who appears inferior is actually much more powerful. 4. Accumulating quiet power, rising the invisible path. Loud people engage in visible power struggles. On the other hand, quiet people accumulate invisible power. This power is built on the following foundations: expertise, deep knowledge, trustworthiness, the power of relationships. Quiet people specialize in areas that go unnoticed. They learn critical information, decipher the system, and ultimately become indispensable. They don't do it flashily. They do it slowly, steadily, and thoroughly. Think of an engineer. They don't chase titles. They don't brag about themselves. They simply do their jobs perfectly. And one day, everyone realizes the system won't work without that person. This is the rise of quiet power. It doesn't come from campaigning, but from the respect earned by demonstrating quality. 5. Psychological advantage. Low pressure, high performance. Another advantage of being underestimated is psychological. If you don't expect great things from yourself, there's no pressure. Creativity, risk-taking, and deep thinking thrive in the absence of pressure. That's why quiet people are more original and more productive. The game is different for them. They reveal their strengths, unknown to others, at the right time and in the right place. In a world of low expectations, every success looks much brighter. This fosters self-confidence, which in turn further enhances performance. This creates a positive feedback loop. The more successful a quiet person is, the more free they are. The more free they are, the more successful they are. 6. Timing. The master of quiet winners. The surprise effect isn't an unlimited resource. That's why quiet people don't reveal their talents early. They can work quietly for months, even years, just for a moment. The right moment. The moment when the world realizes their true value. This timing is the mastery of a strategist. Quiet people think, as long as everyone underestimates me, I have the advantage. And the move comes when the advantage is greatest. That's why quiet people suddenly seem to make a huge difference. The difference is the visibility of the power accumulated over the years. The brain's superior response to silence. Under pressure, the brain operates in a surprisingly different way. The prefrontal cortex partially shuts down, reducing internal criticism, overthinking, and self-questioning. While many people become disorganized at this point, quiet individuals, conversely, enter a positive mental state. This is because the brain reaches a neurochemical balance that makes focus, pattern recognition, and creative thinking much more efficient. Achieving this state is difficult in the interruption-filled pace of daily life. Every notification, every office chat, every unnecessary meeting disrupts the brain's flow, and it takes an average of 23 minutes to refocus. This is why many people never reach the peak of deep work. 2. Silence opens the door to deep work. Quiet people make a difference in this regard. Their reduced need for social stimulation makes it much easier to create the environment necessary for focus. They turn off notifications, close their doors, and view solitude as a natural space, not a threat. Deep work is not a temporary social disconnect. They see it as a long-term investment in skill and success. That's why they enter flow much more often than others. 3. The flow experience and the secret to superior performance. Flow is that unique state in which time flies, and the mind becomes completely integrated with the task while performing a task. Research shows that people who enter flow more frequently are more creative, more satisfied, more successful. Because people who work quietly experience this state more often. Sustainable high performance becomes a natural skill. 4. The advantage of solving complex problems. Difficult problems require sustained thought and sustained attention. Many people struggle to remain persistent in an environment of uncertainty. They gravitate toward easy answers and give up easily. However, a quiet worker, even when confused, manages to cope with uncertainty and move forward. This makes them skilled at finding innovative solutions, understanding complex systems, and spotting connections that others miss. 5. Focus accelerates mastery. Gladwell's 10,000-hour rule isn't just about time, it's about the quality of time. Conscious practice requires focusing on weaknesses for extended periods. Quiet people excel at this. They can practice for extended periods without distraction or interruption. This improves their skills faster and more deeply. In the information age, value no longer comes from physical labor, but from cognitive output, and the ability to work deeply is today's most critical competitive advantage. 6. Value-creating experts beyond automation. A software developer who can code for 6 hours without distraction. A writer who can write pages of fluid text. An analyst who can analyze complex data sets. The work these people do isn't easily automated. Therefore, quiet workers will be among the most valuable people of the future. 7. The psychological reward of deep work. Many people who work deeply report finding more meaning in their work. Because deep work, it allows people to use their cognitive capacities to their full potential. It creates a sense of accomplishment that superficial work cannot. It makes people feel both productive and fulfilled. People who work quietly tend to feel happier, more peaceful, and more confident. 8. The quiet people's strategy, consciously designing the environment. This advantage doesn't happen automatically. Quiet people create a conscious system. Notifications are turned off. The workspace is simplified. The daily routine is broken down into uninterrupted blocks. Social boundaries are established. In this way, the brain learns to reach the same level of depth every day. And with practice, the concentration muscle is strengthened. Deep work is no longer a talent. It becomes a way of life. 9. Invisible networks. The hidden power of quiet people. Extroverts build extensive but superficial networks. Quiet people, on the other hand, build an invisible but much stronger network. This network, it's not about show, but about genuine relationships. Connections based on mutual respect and competence. Many powerful opportunities arise from invisible networks. Because people never forget helpful, trustworthy, quiet, yet influential people. 10. Value-based relationship building. The approach quiet people adopt is, what can I offer this person? Therefore, they share useful information, offer resources, connect people, offer support. Over time, these people become the invisible backbone of an organization. Everyone trusts them, even if no one realizes it. The true meaning of strategic silence. Silence isn't, as many believe, a social, withdrawn, or refusing to speak. It's a controlled form of power. It's about knowing when to speak, when to listen, and when to say nothing, and simply observe the environment. A person who achieves this level of mastery gains an advantage in communication that most people are unaware of. The listener always learns more. In a conversation, most people focus on presenting their own ideas. They plan what they'll say, defend themselves, and try to persuade the other party. The quiet person, on the other hand, recognizes the intentions, motivations, concerns, and opportunities hidden between the words. Every unintentional sentence reveals something. While the quiet person notices these information leaks, the talkative person thinks they're gaining something, but in reality, they're the one providing the most valuable information, turning the discomfort of silence into an advantage. Many people in society are uncomfortable with silence. Even a few seconds of silence can encourage others to join the conversation. This is where strategic silence comes in. Remaining silent after asking a question forces the interviewer to speak more honestly and in more detail. This is true even in job interviews. A candidate who remains silent after giving a brief answer allows the interviewer to reveal their true expectations. Because the person who speaks to fill the gap is usually the one who provides more information. Sometimes, the strongest response is no response at all. Everyone tries to respond immediately to criticism, misunderstandings, and unfair comments. But a mature and calm person knows this. Silence is the clearest sign of self-confidence. Engaging in an argument often weakens one's stance. Remaining silent, on the other hand, causes the interviewer to reevaluate what they've said. In fact, most unnecessary conflicts are resolved naturally when there's no response. The effect of silence. Every word of someone who remains silent for a long time is more impactful, because people know if they speak, they have something important to say. Therefore, quiet people communicate with quality, not quantity. They speak little, but they speak at the right moment. This gives them a natural sense of social power and mystery. The power of silence in meetings. In noisy environments, the most powerful player is often not the one who talks the most, but the one who observes the most. The quiet person can detect the real decision makers in the room, the tensions, the opportune moments, and the subtleties that go unnoticed. And they can wait for the right moment and change the outcome with a single sentence. Therefore, in most companies, the person who speaks the least has the most influence. Mastering the types of silence. Silence isn't a single form. It has strategic uses. Assertive silence, saying yes without saying it directly. Disagreement. Silence, saying no more effectively than arguing. Superior silence, maintaining one's position by rejecting unnecessary arguments. Considering silence, creating stronger responses by weighing words. A person who masters these types becomes the unseen leader of communication. The power of silence in written communication. Silence is powerful not only in speech, but also in writing. An unsent email, an undelivered comment, an unanswered reply. Sometimes it carries a message more powerful than any sentence. The silent person knows exactly when to be visible and when to withdraw. The true power behind silence. Control. A person who masters strategic silence takes control of communication. They no longer react to others. They choose their own time, their own energy, their own rhythm. And this choice returns to them as respect, power, and influence. The compounding effect of continuous silent work. The world loves sudden success stories, but true power lies in silent, continuous work. The silent person focuses not on demonstrating their efforts, but on improving them. Small steps, daily repetitions, invisible efforts. Over time, all of these things add up to create a huge advantage. Just as a programmer who spends 30 minutes learning every day accumulates hundreds of hours over the years. Just as a writer who writes for an hour every day sometimes surpasses a writer who works hard. Silence leads to mathematically inevitable success, the invisible stages of compound growth. This process is invisible at first. No one notices. No one applauds. No one praises. This is where quiet people shine. They are patient. They don't look for immediate results. They don't seek recognition. And one day, a threshold is broken. Progress that had been invisible for years suddenly becomes visible. People say, "Suddenly he did it." But the truth is, this success is the inevitable result of years of silently accumulated effort. Deep observation, the invisible weapon of silent power. The greatest advantage of quiet people is their attentional power, which isn't lost in the noise of the crowd. Observation isn't just about looking. It's about quieting the mental noise and truly noticing what's happening in the moment. Most people plan, evaluate, and consider their next sentence when listening to someone else. The quiet observer, on the other hand, blocks out all this internal noise and observes the entire scene in high definition. This way, they pick up on intonations, gestures, tempo changes, and inconsistencies that others might not notice. Observation isn't just about focusing on words. It's about understanding how people say things, what their bodies are saying, and the context of the situation. Even if someone's lips say, "I'm great," the tension in their eyes, the tightening of their shoulders, and the flat tone of their voice whisper the truth. Quiet people hear precisely this truth: the ability to read and predict behavioral patterns. Quiet workers learn to read behavioral patterns through observations they accumulate over time. They can predict how people will react in certain situations, which approach will motivate them, and which arguments will meet with resistance. This is a powerful advantage in both business and relationships. A sales representative can understand a customer's hesitations before they even voice them. A manager can detect an employee's burnout before they even speak and address the issue before it escalates. A negotiator can read the other party's relaxed shoulders as a signal. Okay, now it's time to present the offer. This subtle awareness is the quiet person's hidden strategic advantage. Reading hidden power dynamics. Meetings are spaces where overt agendas and covert power simultaneously unfold. While most people focus solely on what's being said, a quiet observer observes the relationships behind the scenes. Who's looking at whom? Who's avoiding whom? Who's talking while others are answering their phones? Who's tense? Who's relaxed? Which idea? These small gestures are more powerful than formal reports. Quiet people understand true authority, hidden alliances, and how decisions are made from these details. The ability to observe not only others, but also oneself. True masters of observation not only observe the external world, but also understand their own internal processes. What triggers bother them? What biases distort their perceptions? Recognizing the internal patterns that shape their reactions is crucial for reading others more accurately. A person who is able to observe themselves doesn't let their emotions infiltrate their decisions. This allows them to make fairer and clearer analyses. Reading, even in the digital world. Quiet power is effective not only in face-to-face environments, but also in digital communication. A delay in an email, a change in tone in a text message, or even a change in emoji use are important signals for the quiet person. A person's workspace, the layout of their desk, their book selection, the structure of their files, all these are clues about their personality. By integrating this information, the quiet observer understands people more deeply and communicates more effectively. Knowing when not to speak. One of the greatest strengths of observational mastery is knowing when not to use information. Not every observation requires a response. Sometimes waiting, sometimes following the natural flow of the process, and sometimes strategic silence yield much better results. A quiet person patiently observes to make the right move at the right time. Delayed gratification, the invisible engine of quiet success. Today's world lives in a now culture. Instant rewards, instant validation, constant feedback. But quiet people manage to stay out of this game because they don't fear loneliness. Focus on the long term and use patience as a valuable asset. While many people lose motivation quickly, quiet people stick to long-term goals. That's why true expertise, solid relationships, and lasting success often accumulate. Just like the Stanford marshmallow experiment, those who can wait win. Quiet people use their waiting muscles the most. Long-term advantages. True knowledge takes years. Superficial knowledge takes minutes. Expertise requires patience. Quick successes are fleeting. Because they don't see immediate rewards, quiet people enter challenging areas no one else wants to venture into, using time to their advantage. Whether it's finance, career, or relationships, the patient person gains exponentially. The source of quiet power, the mastery-focused mind. Quiet people's success stems from a mindset we call mastery-focused. For them, challenges aren't a threat, but a natural part of growth. Every project is about developing talent, not proving it. But failure isn't something to be ashamed of. It's a sign that shows them the right next step. Therefore, quiet people meticulously plan their efforts, value their processes, and become architects of their own development. 2. Purpose-focused self-confidence. True self-confidence stems not from praise, but from purpose. Because quiet people are isolated from the noise of the outside world, they often have a clearer understanding of their own values, interests, and motivations. They know why they're doing something. This purpose-focused self-confidence is far more enduring than self-confidence based on social approval because it's internal, not external. 3. Independence from social pressures. The opinions of others shape most people's goals. However, quiet people are less influenced by social pressures when choosing their own path. For them, what matters is not looking good on the outside, but feeling good on the inside. This creates a stronger and more enduring sense of direction. 4. The courage to accept imperfections. The most confident individuals are often more comfortable admitting their flaws than hiding them. Quiet people know that perfection is not a necessity. Knowing their flaws makes them unbreakable. Because they aren't surprised, devastated, or panicked when their shortcomings are revealed. They confront their mistakes, learn from them, and move on with calm strength. 5. Living in alignment with values. True inner confidence is built through actions aligned with values. When a person chooses what's right, even when it's difficult, their self-esteem rises. The strongest foundation for self-confidence comes not from the applause of others, but from one's own conscience. Quiet people develop a character-based self-confidence by shaping their behavior according to their values. This self-confidence remains unshakable even in the face of storms. 6. Physical and mental resilience. People who take good care of their bodies, minds, and emotions naturally develop stronger self-confidence. Quiet people are no strangers to solitary walks, individual sports, meditation, contemplation. These habits increase mental clarity, reduce stress, and strengthen emotional resilience. 7. Projecting inner strength outward. People with strong inner self-confidence don't act aggressively to prove themselves. They can back down when they make mistakes, ask for help when necessary, and don't hesitate when they need to stand their ground. Outsiders perceive this as quiet strength. A peaceful, reliable, and stable energy is felt around quiet people. 8. The strategic art of timing. Successful people aren't those who act quickly, but those who act at the right time. Quiet people are masters of this because they observe, reflect, wait, and act when the conditions are right. Strategic timing begins with understanding. Not every moment is equal. Not every door is always open. Not everyone is ready all the time. Quiet people know how to read these patterns. 9. The discipline of waiting for opportunity. While others rush, quiet people patiently wait for the right moment. They act when the market is most favorable. They speak when people are most receptive. They act when the organization is most ready. This allows them to achieve big results with little energy. 10. Recognizing energy and mental cycles. Quiet people understand their own internal rhythms. When they are most creative, when they are more focused, when they make better decisions. This awareness allows them to plan their work around the times when they are most productive. This results in less fatigue and more effective work. 11. Timing. You're reading in relationships. People have emotional cycles. Quiet people are better at reading when one is on and the other is off. Therefore, they approach the right person at the right time. They always choose the most productive moment when giving feedback, asking for support, and building collaboration. 12. The ability to create value without praise. One of the most powerful strategies of quiet people is to create value without expecting praise. This behavior makes a huge difference in relationships and organizations. Because people sense the difference between those who genuinely help and those who expect something in return. A person who can contribute without expecting praise builds trust, earns respect, becomes a moral authority, becomes a listener when it's time to say things others won't. This creates a long-term and profound impact. The quiet power of environment. Quiet people understand that success isn't an accident. It comes from consciously creating the right environments. Both physical and digital spaces should be organized to support the mind. Clutter on the desk, constantly flashing notifications on the phone, or a chaotic schedule. These are all invisible enemies of busy work. True quiet powerhouses don't fight these enemies. They create systems to eliminate them. They quiet their workspaces, silence their phones, and close any doors that try to distract their minds. Because focus isn't achieved by chance, but by conscious choice. 2. The invisible triumph of systems thinking. Quiet winners don't leave their performance to chance. They create systems. Their diaries, workflows, and habits all serve a purpose. But most importantly, these systems aren't fixed. What works at one stage of life can become completely ineffective at another. Therefore, quiet workers constantly review their systems. They periodically ask themselves, what's working? What's breaking? What needs to change? This approach creates extraordinary momentum in the long run. What may seem like effortless perfection from the outside is actually the result of flawlessly functioning systems. 3. Sustainable excellence. Many people are initially strong, but quiet workers are invincible in the long run because they rely on the system, not motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but a system forces you to be productive at the same level of quality and depth every day. That's why the success of quiet workers is sustainable. They don't panic when a crisis arises. They don't miss an opportunity. For them, stability isn't an accident. It's a way of life. 4. The beginning of a quiet transformation. And now, the real challenge begins. This journey begins with a quiet moment of decision. Now, you'll measure success not by external reactions, but by the value you create internally. Likes, clicks, or applause. None of these measure true progress. True success lies in developing competence, deepening relationships, making systems work better, and creating real value. This is where quiet transformation blossoms. 5. The productivity of solitude. The modern world creates a constant bombardment of stimuli, notifications, messages, rapidly consumed content. In such an environment, being alone with your thoughts is not a weakness, but a true superpower. The first step for quiet workers is to create some completely quiet time every day. No phone, no music, no podcasts, just mind and deep awareness. It's uncomfortable at first, but over time, it transforms into one of the clearest and most productive moments of life. 6. Masters of selective interaction. Quiet people don't talk to everyone. They don't participate in every project. They don't participate in every discussion. For them, making choices is a strength. They carefully choose the meetings they attend, the people they talk to, and the energy they expend. This isn't coldness, it's strategy. It's a filter that allows them to focus their strengths in the right areas. They're not the first to speak when they enter a room. They're the first to understand. 7. Silence creates value. Perhaps the most impressive thing that distinguishes quiet employees is their ability to create value without being noticed. They don't seek praise. They don't seek recognition. They don't keep score. They solve problems in the background, share knowledge, and contribute to the success of others. This approach goes unnoticed at first, but over time, it builds strong respect. Quiet people lead with influence, not words. 8. Quietly, strong relationships. They build an invisible network, but it's built on genuine connections, not interests. They remember people, add value, and build trust. Quiet employees may have a limited circle of friends, but their impact is immense. Their relationships aren't noisy, they're solid. 9. Your new identity, quiet power. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually, every day, by talking a little less, observing a little more, working a little more deeply. You deepen, strengthen, simplify, and connect with your true essence. A year later, when you look back, you realize you no longer feel the need to prove yourself. People listen to you based on your sound judgment, not your voice. Your successes are built through systems, not luck. Your self-confidence is nourished by true competence, not external reactions. And finally, you realize true power is invisible, but its impact is unwavering. Your silent transformation begins today. Now is the time for action, not words.